Welcome to ReConnect with Plant Wisdom. I'm your host, Tigrila Gardenia, nature-inspired mentor and leadership coach. In this podcast, I share ancient and modern knowledge from biology to spirituality about the wondrous ways in which plants can help you lead a naturally conscious life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of ReConnect with Plant Wisdom. It's me, Tigrila Gardenia. And today I have to admit, I didn't want to do this episode. I received a bunch of questions and then I talked it over with my team. Well, I received the same question multiple times and then I had a long conversation with my team, which is normally what happens with these things. And my team was the one who was like, you should really do this. And it's so silly, but I'm going to explain to you why. So this is episode 54, from personal evolution to life coach. I know it sounds so silly. Okay, so let me explain to you what's going on. Since I started my work, now you have to understand, I started working specifically with the plants in, 2013. So the plant focus has always been really important for me. As you might remember from, I think it was like episode 4, I gave you my entire history. I have an extremely varied background that goes from high technology like Microsoft and Real Networks with audio and video, and then over through to the performing arts. I've managed groups. I've produced large dance parties. I've co-owned a circus. I've worked with Cirque du Soleil. I've been in theater and dance and so many different aspects of it. And almost all of that really culminates in this communication aspect, right? Like my main element or archetype is really about communication and bridging gaps for people. And I've done it in esoteric studies like Kabbalah and sacred geometry through to technical communications and then biomimicry, so science communication. And so coming up with a title for what I do is never easy for me. I've had this even from the old days. I was thinking about this the other day as I was preparing for this episode. I was remembering that when I first started working in software development, right, in the world of tech. So I had graduated from college. I had worked in a CD pressing plant for a while. I was waiting to work with the FBI in reality as an audio video forensics person. And in the meantime, I got this other job offer, thanks to a very good friend of mine, to move across the country to Seattle to work for what was at then called Progressive Networks, a small little internet company that was doing audio online. And when I first decided I wanted to go and work in this, which I'm so glad that I did, I was what's called a quality assurance engineer. So I was a QA. My job was to make sure the quality of the products that we were putting out, which in this case for me was on the encoding side, because my specialization was in audio. So I was really testing audio codecs. So very quickly, my title got kind of, back then, this was the days when everybody was like tech nerd and like head geek, and all kinds of different fun titles were finally starting to come out. So my business cards literally said, quality assurance engineer, and then audio video specialist or audio video quality specialist. I can't even remember. And through the years, as I progressed through Real Networks, I continued with that title because no matter what job I was doing, I was always the one that was being called back to listen to the quality of the audio and the video, to really help test and work with what's called a codec engineer to figure out this. So I have always had kind of like a quirky title connected to my real title. And this continued on. Even at Microsoft, I had, different titles connected to the different jobs. I was mainly a release manager in many different groups. And I was a lead release manager, and I had all these different aspects. I had these groups. And then imagine I left that world to go kind of join the circus. I left that world to produce events. And so my titles, I've always had like CEO and maybe founder and producer in there, but then I've always had all these strange titles. So all this to tell you that When it came to working directly with people, I really at the beginning struggled with trying to figure out what do I do? Like, how do I? When I walked out of the communications world, I was doing a lot of communications for a biomimicry consulting group, as well as for Dom&Her itself. When I walked out of all of this and decided, no, 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 I was actually going to get my master's degree in, even there, a strange title. My master's is in vegetal future, futuro vegetale, plants, social innovation and design. So it's not like it actually gives you a super easy title. Actually, as a matter of fact, only recently have I started to use this like MA or MS, actually MS, because it's a master's in science, it's a master in architecture, it's even there in a strange thing. So, but when I walked out of like my master's, as I was finishing up my master's and I was trying to decide exactly what I wanted to do with my life, I knew that it was very much in the realm of more consulting type at the time. Like I knew that I wanted to be very close to an ecosystem thinking. I wanted to bring in all of this biomimetic and all of this like plant inspired work that I was doing, the understanding that the plants, I still had this esoteric slant, because remember, was a Kabbalah teacher and I used to teach sacred geometry, and I have all this esoteric side from Dom&Her, and I was like, okay, well, how do I want to bring this all together and give it a sort of a shape of something that doesn't put me in just the scientific world or just the engineering world or just something like that, which is exactly what I had done from the very beginning of my career. And so at that point, I zeroed in on the idea of I was going to be doing consulting, because I was consulting on various projects, biomimetic projects, and being a facilitator. And I didn't really love the term facilitator, so I went with nature inspired mentor. First, I think I called it nature inspired consulting, and then very quickly it became nature inspired mentor, because the consulting side is about projects. And while I can work on projects, and I have worked on many biomimetic projects as well as nature inspired projects and many other projects, of course, leading up my entire career to get there, the mentorship part is the part I've always loved. Like, even when I was doing esoteric teaching and Kabbalah, and I was teaching Kabbalah and I would do groups, I very quickly developed a program that allowed me to work one-on-one with people, allowing people to really just, how do I explain this? Kind of at the time, it didn't have a title in my head. I didn't know that there was other people, how they were doing it or what they were calling themselves. So I just gravitated to a kind of session where people could talk, where we could talk through what their particular situation was. And the reason for this is because, as you know, I work with a lot of multipotentialites. I love multipotentialites. And what I love most about multipotentialites is their unique way of putting together solutions. So the whole out of the box thinking doesn't work for me. Even when I was privileged enough in the software world to work on very cutting edge technology, right? I worked on, back when audio and video was first making it out into the world. And then even in Microsoft, I was working on the tablet PC for a long time. Tablet PC, which became eventually the tablets that you know today, but back then they were very different, was cutting edge completely. I mean, nobody was doing, this is pre, even Apple coming out with an iPad. This was where we were conceptualizing what that tablet PC should look like. What does it work with a stylus? We weren't even getting to touch yet. We were before touch. And so I've always worked on very cutting edge projects. And you could say one of my talents and skills is taking a very avant-garde concept and making it understandable even to the mainstream or even to somebody else, like bridging that gap and helping people who are way out there connect in to their audience or to their clients or to their customers or to their bosses and such. And so I've always worked one-on-one with people. And so when I first kind of branched out and I got my master's degree and decided I wanted to work very closely with the plants were pushing me to do this exact same thing, right? To continue to work one-on-one with people. And so I went from consulting, which was like around the time of my master's, since I was working with a communications company and I was a communications manager, and they helped me kind of shift that my private work would be more mentorship. So the idea of being able to work with people who were thinking about bio-inspired or plant-inspired projects, nature-inspired projects, and how to give them that unique spin, how to help the person particularly navigate that field. So I started always off with the nature inspired part, nature inspired mentor, which still remains my title today. You'll always see that I start with nature inspired mentor because that is my way of saying I bring this expertise to our conversation. The expertise that the plants are teaching me, what I have learned in ecosystem services, in design thinking, in all different kinds of bio-inspired technologies, in biomimicry itself. All of that I bring to the table, as well as my plant communication skills and helping you navigate that world and working very closely with plants directly. And that's more of a mentorship model in the sense like I listen to what it is that you want to accomplish and I help you work through and find your own solutions, but I do give you ideas, I give you thought processes. When I went and decided to get my ICF, my International Coaching Federation certification, a new world opened up. I had always avoided the word coach. I had avoided the word coach because, as you know, the coaching world is unregulated. It has no specific kind of, yes, there are certifications like the ICF that I went to, but you don't have to have a certification in order to use that title. There's no accreditation that's necessary in order for you to take on the word coach. And look, we'll be honest, the coaching world is very varied. It's wonderful that there is no accreditation because it gives a lot of space for different kinds of coaching to begin. But at the same time, there are many people who just hang their hat on calling themselves a coach and really don't have any kind of formal training or don't know the differences and the nuances of the word. So I avoided it and focused on the mentorship. And then I decided to get my accreditation because I wanted to understand what this skill set could offer me and how it could help my clients even further. And honestly, I am in love with coaching. Love, love, love it. I think we can all agree that music is the true universal language. In fact, what we think of as language is actually musicality. And I would argue that plants may be the greatest composers of all. By using the music of the plants device, plants are now able to share their healing and communicate with us in a language we can understand. Music of the Plants now has different devices to experiment with, whether you're a musician looking to play along with your plant friends, a healer who wants to enhance their practice, or simply curious. In the show notes, you'll find a link to purchase the right device for you, such as this Bamboo M. There are also all sorts of fun extras, such as downloadable interspecies music and plant music merchandise. So click on the link to the music of the plants in the show notes to discover how you can start making music with your plants today. As a mentor, I help you see paths by showing you paths. In other words, as a mentor, I say plants would create your ecosystem or your environment in this way, and I help you look and see which of those ways works for you. So I might give you suggestions, I'll give you ideas, we'll talk through how whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish can be seen from the metaphor of a plant or through the eyes of a plant directly, right? Sometimes it's metaphor, sometimes it's a model, sometimes it's a measurement of what should I do based on what a plant would do. So it really is working with the plant as the plant being kind of the intelligence model behind this and the plant kin home giving us a set of parameters to start to build our lives as nature. But as a coach, I do none of that. As a coach, my job is to ask provocative, open-ended questions that allow you to see whatever it is that you're experiencing through different eyes. Not because I show you that, but because I give you the space to find that for yourself. I have no idea where you're going to get to in a coaching session, right? And I'm very clear when I wear different hats. Like when I go into a mentorship, if I'm sitting in a session with somebody and I feel like what they need is more mentorship, I'll tell them, I'm going to put on a mentorship hat. I'm going to give you some ideas. And then I'll take that mentorship hat off and I'll give you a coach and I'll be like, okay, where should we follow? What is the rabbit hole that we should go down? And what does that look like? And I make sure that that rabbit hole is productive, not a rabbit hole that's going to like get you stuck into something. And that's to me is really fun because I learn just as much as you do. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what all your skill sets are. We might run into a past life. We might run into an old talent. We might come into a fear or a limiting belief. And what I am trying to do is just help you see them in front of you and then help you make a decision. So gain confidence in making your decisions and then help you understand what came from those decisions. So the coaching model is very different from the mentorship model, and one that I really love being able to marry these two things together because that's, again, that's how a plant would do it. That's how a body of nature would do it. Sometimes you're given information and many times you're left to, you're looking for the best way to use what information you have. The thing is that just calling yourself a coach in the external world, if you're not working for a company or a coach in a different business or something like that, is really difficult to market, shall I say it that way. So at first I was like, okay, I'll just do nature inspired mentor and coach. And I do use that title a lot, especially because what I chose to do, thankfully, I went back to the university to get my certification. And when I did my ICF, my International Coaching Federation, ICF has 3 levels: ACC, PCC, and MCC. An associate's coaching certificate or certification, then it's professional, and then it's master's. And I'm a professional, so I'm on the second tier. So oftentimes in certain environments, I just have to call myself a coach and say I have a PCC certification, and the person knows what that means more or less. But in the world, the wild west that is the unregulated world of coaching, again, not so clear. So when I was doing my certification, I started using leadership coach. My intention with it was self-leadership, right? The idea of how do I become the leader of my life? How do I lead my life with confidence? How do I get to a place where I completely accept who I am and how I do things, and I lead my life consciously? I make conscious decisions and all these things. Can I tell you that in the outside world from corporate life, that leadership word is very misunderstood? Very misunderstood. You are a leader, right? You want to be a leader in a lot of ways, but a lot of people shy away from the word leader. And especially when they see leadership coach, they assume that that means I want to go work in corporate. So very quickly, you'll see that some of my materials still say nature inspired mentor and leadership coach. And so I was like, okay, I was using it, but it wasn't really working for me because it was not connecting with the people that I really wanted to touch. I know that you're a leader. I know that what you want to do is lead your life with confidence. But how do I explain that to you? So, and around this time, a very good friend of mine said to me, well, why are you worried about this? Really, what you are is a world ambassador for plant intelligence, which I fell in love with. I mean, really. What a compliment. I was like, I love that. I'm an ambassador for plant intelligence. And I was like, yes, let's go with that. That too has changed, by the way. Today, I call myself a world ambassador for plant advocacy because it's not just the intelligence of plants, it's advocating for plants at 360 degrees. But that's another episode that I'll go to in some other moment. So after I had been using leadership coach for a while, I decided to change because I moved it to personal evolution, which is convoluted. I mean, seriously, nature inspired mentor and personal evolution coach. It was, again, the concept that I wanted as a leader, like self-leadership, the idea that you manage your evolution. You don't just get tied on, like you don't just get pulled out and, dragged into a direction, but that evolution can actually be guided like you're guiding your synchronicity, right? I'm making conscious choices that allow my evolution to be personalized and to move into certain directions without halting what are the emergences, like what can emerge in a path. So I'm not holding on and like trying to control everything. It's not a controlling path, but it's a guiding path. Yeah, you try to explain that to people. As you can tell from just the difficulty of explaining it here, that wasn't working anyway. So after so much soul searching and so many terms and so many discussions with my team, with my clients, with my friends inside of the naturally conscious community, I ended up settling with life coach. Certified life coach, because I do have my ICF certification. I have to admit, I hated this term at the very beginning, because life coach is so overused. So many people call themselves a life coach. I've seen 21-year-olds, no offense to 21-year-olds, seriously, like I am so proud of you for being ambitious and entrepreneurial and getting out there. But life, for me, has a capital L, because it's not life as in human life or my life, but life as in the web of life. And so every time I would circle around to try to understand how to explain to somebody what it is that I do on a one-on-one basis in my sessions, it is life coaching. I want you to live a naturally conscious life, a life where you're confident, where you're working towards, you feel like you're a part of something planetary as well as individual, where your personal life is beautiful and your planetary life is beautiful, where we are thinking about where your place in the web of life. How do we create conditions conducive to life, as biomimicry often states? Where is it that you feel your plantness, your humanness, your animalness, your rockness, all aspects of you, life with the capital L? This work is about impacting all areas of your life. So ultimately, it is life coaching. It all comes down to your life. And so, try as I may, I couldn't get away from the title. It didn't make sense to get away from the title. I want to reclaim the title. There are some amazing life coaches out there that are doing really great work. Why should I limit my ability to do that great work, to make it easy for you to find me or to understand what I do, because I'm afraid of some being grouped in with people that maybe are creating, are doing damage, or are not necessarily taking life coaching in the way that I feel like is most important. I mean, for me, what's most important is radical honesty with yourself, really truly getting to the place where no matter what you think, no matter what you feel, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter how ugly it might seem from the perspective of what you've been taught, you can admit it to yourself and understand where that's coming from and work through it. Where you can be your truest self, like where I have such an authentic life, where I am so comfortable in my skin that I can navigate what it is that life offers me. Because if I'm a plant, I'm sure I'm morphing, I'm adapting, but ultimately I know I'm a plant. I know who I am. And I'm creating an ecosystem that allows me to thrive. I'm in an ecosystem that allows me to thrive. And that's really what I want. I want to flourish and blossom. And it's all about your personal life. Radical honesty, complete self acceptance, including all of those things that life has told you are negative about you or bad. You know me, I do not believe in anything that is negative. Like, I believe that we were handed a whole series of talents, and it's about learning how to master them and use them. How do you really navigate through this life as a multipotentialite who has so many different passions, who has so many possibilities, and yet can feel where their life purpose is pulling them and knows how to weave them together? All of that is about life. Is it about personal evolution? Yes. Is it about leadership? Sure. Is it about so many other topics that exist and titles and things? Yes. But why would I waste so many words when ultimately it's about life? So now you're going to see me start to use my full title in some places or sometimes pieces of it, which is Nature Inspired Mentor and Certified Life Coach, ICF, PCC, World Ambassador for Plant Advocacy. What do you think? Does it fit me? Does it work? I mean, this is where I want to get to. I want to get to the place where you feel comfortable enough spending that time really looking at yourself. I read somewhere today that was something really beautiful that said, creatives need more time doing nothing. And I think that that's true. I think we all do. I think everybody is creative. Everybody has the opportunity to do it. And I do think we need more time to reflect and to just be. That's the plantness part, right? That's the plantness part I want to embrace, and I want you to embrace, which is that I want you to just be able to be. And to be means I have to accept who I am and what my life offers me. What does this incarnation offer me to give forward? So that's my story. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about the word life coach? Like, when you hear it, do you instantly have like a positive reaction, a neutral reaction, a negative reaction? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So you can leave me a comment. You can write to me in the Naturally Conscious community. You can contact me through my website. I want to hear what you have to say, because this really will help me better, reclaim this title for all of the great life coaches that are out there, but to also make it easy for all the people that really want life coaching to find it. And so, yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, I could go on and on, but you know how I am. So thank you so much for listening. Please, please, please send me your feedback. I'd love to hear it. You can find me all over the place. And remember, wherever it is that you're watching here, you can, or listening, you want to subscribe, like, if you could comment, leave a comment, even only to say, I'm here and I heard you, because all of that helps and it makes it easier for others to reach this content. And I hope that you'll enjoy some of my other episodes. I'd love to hear your feedback on those too. I mean, there are so many topics, so many ideas, so many thoughts, so many people that I want to bring to you. And it's not always easy to put them together in a way that makes sense. I mean, my mind, it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it makes sense to you. So in an effort to really reach out and make sure that what I am producing helps you on your journey, please, your feedback is super valuable. It's what allows me to continue to grow and improve, and for me to evolve. Thanks for listening to this episode of ReConnect with Plant Wisdom. Intro and outro music by Steve Shuley and Poinsettia from The Singing Life of Plants. So join me, Tigrila Gardenia, and my plant collaborators next time on ReConnect with Plant Wisdom.